So you're talking in rhetoric like photography needs to be saved. Can you explain?
Well, I think it's over. No, no, I'm just kidding. I think I no. I think photography does need to be saved in the sense of like I believe in where all this is going. But I also I do see and acknowledge how the world is changing with AI and just I don't know, everything is just the whole world's always changing. When I first started photography, by the way, photography also needed saving because every magazine was collapsing. There's a great financial crisis in 2008 when I first started making money at this, and it needed saving then too. And one of the things that did save it was honestly a digital renaissance at that time. I even remember being in watching a panel of Rolling Stone magazine, and they were saying like, "Oh, we advertise like products in Rolling Stone magazine, so when it's on the internet, we can put a lot more advertisements for products on the magazine page." And people were like, "Whoa,
Mm.
whoa," right? So that did give an injection to save things for a certain amount of time, but now I think it's time that time has come again because look how our industry is being eroded. You know, getting assignments and things is like really tough to come by because the economy is being squeezed, clients are being squeezed, and it's trickling down to us also. Um, for work that's not process driven, meaning like you just go down the street and you see an advertisement and that's the end of it, all of that work can be generated by AI
Hmm.
because if it's a still life or a product or something, there's honestly no reason for a photographer to do
Hmm.
it. Even some of the ways that I have shot movie posters in the past makes no sense because you photograph them on a gray or green backdrop, they're composited together. Maybe even there's a shot in the movie poster that was taken by another photographer, like a unit photographer that was there on set, maybe not with the cast in a controlled lighting, but it's in the poster and it's made out of all these kind of pieces and woven together to the point where you can't even claim it as your own art, right? So if that's already the way that advertisements and posters or products and still life are being made, well, how can you follow the logic? You just follow the money, and just the cheapest way to create these things is going to be the way that it's going to be done. Not to mention even celebrities just having a scan of themselves that they license out,
Hmm.
that they like
Hmm.
how they look. That's way better than turning up to a photo set. I'm a photographer, and even I admit that makes sense, more sense than what we're doing. So I said, that's not process driven work because when you walk down the street, the only interaction you are supposed to have is to look at that thing or see it on your phone, wherever your eyeballs may be, is the final work. Other things that are process driven, there's a place for photography. So, for example, assignments where you must go out and photograph the real people doing it, the real thing, or we don't want to generate this on AI because like we have to actually visually show it, right? But what does that do to our industry? It cuts it in half, or
Hmm.
maybe even more than half. So, photography is already devalued. Now, this thing that's coming is going to shrink it again. What that does is it destroys the business of every little equipment rental house that's around the earth where you can rent a Profoto light, right? It destroys the jobs of retouchers. It just puts a shock to the system. So, of course, there's more things to photograph now than there other ever was. There's more clients, more assignments, but I think the whole pie is getting sliced in half. Luckily for what I do, I consider my work to be process driven. Okay, I'm not going to generate the Ethiopia AI book of just all the things that I think are in there. In fact, if you do that, all of the imagery that's already been thought of Ethiopia is not correct because it was framed by photographers whose vision of it was more of the visuals from the 1970s, the famine or something. If you were to try to generate that vision, it's pulling from things that are already created, not a new artistic expression. AI doesn't work. Even you don't even want to look at a book that's generated by AI, but you want
Yeah.
to see photography. So photography is not dead, but I do think that everything that we've grown to know that has become normal in the past 20 years is dramatically changing. I can feel it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The people I meet, the people I talk to, the people who've lost their jobs, the people who are, by the way, growing and doing something bigger and better than they've ever done. All of these things are very shocking, a shock to the system. So that's why photography needs saving again. I had to think of your original question. Yes.
But one would think if essentially the supply of photographic output is dwindling, essentially, that you would think the demand would then the level of demand, okay, maybe not on a commercial level, but certainly individuals, collectors in the kind of the art world,
Yes.
you would think then that demand increases because there's less of it around, less of that real photography around.
On that, I 100% agree with you. But that's already a very small niche cottage industry,
Yeah.
right? So one interesting thing about what you just said is, in my view, there is a time before AI and there's a time after, and everything that was created before AI does receive a new valuation,
Mm.
right? Because we can trust that it was actually made by a human. But again, how many photo collectors are there to support
Yeah.
a whole world of photographers? It's not the math just doesn't compute. But certainly I think that everything does get a historical value. And back to cryptocurrency and NFTs, that's also why I love NFTs, is that it is a digital certificate of something that you can trace back to being made by a human. I think that AI and cryptography can go hand in hand because we're going to have to verify the source point of all these things being made by a human. The only way to do that at this time is with a cryptographic signature. So this is not my original thought. I've heard this and I believe in this from others, but I really think that that's kind of the future of this, because when you look at a photo that's in the news, sometimes even before AI, you couldn't verify, is this a real scenario or is this fake? There was, I believe it was, you always hear of people winning some kind of prestigious photojournalism award and it gets taken away from them. So it's already things are not always as they seem. Well, when you throw in the ability to manipulate things with a machine, it's going to get even more confusing, or with the deep fakes. And I think you'll be able to hear an address from the American president and be able to verify it somehow.
Yeah.
And the only way to do it is if there's a ledger storing this thing, and it can be traced back to the original. It could be a wallet or source point address that has minted it from the beginning, and that's acknowledged as the verified one. The problem with a platform verifying these things is then the platform becomes the purveyor of all knowledge. But if it's decentralized and the person does it themselves, such as an Ethereum or cryptocurrency, well, then it's not centralized. So that's the importance of these things and these ledgers existing outside of a controlled state.
Yep. Totally agree. Do you know of anything that's being developed right now to have that authentication method? Or because I hear about this all the time, and people talking that way, there needs to be a cryptography way of authenticating whatever it is, whether it's audio, visuals, stills, moving images, whatever it is, even just sources. There's nothing to stop us going on and writing 10 different papers about climate change, right?
Yeah,
and posting it, and it could be true, might not be true. There's no way of anyone discerning that information. So, I don't hear the problem I see is that AI is growing faster than we are as legislators, as humans, as society, and as governments. I don't know what is happening at the moment, if anyone is developing these types of systems. I know the government isn't exactly, breaking the walls down to create these authentication methods.
I'm sure it's all coming. It might take a giant crisis to get it pushed through the door
Yeah, maybe.
quickly. But I'm sure there's people that are developing these things, because that's, you know, that's like the nature of human identity. And some are going to, you know, end up looking very freakish and scary, like WorldCoin, and others will look, I don't know, a little bit more democratic, like Ethereum, for example. So I couldn't point you in any specific direction of who's doing it right or wrong, but there's definitely going to be a need for it, I think.